Welcome in, ladies and gentlemen, to the Let's Talk Sports Fantasy Football Show here on Let's Talk Sports and Fantasy Football for the People. My name is Ryan Larrison from Rotoballer, Yards Per Fantasy, and the Fantasy Football for the People YouTube channel. I'm joined today, as always, by my brother, Matthew Larrison, at Let's Talk Bets on Twitter, or Larrison Bets, I apologize. Matt, thanks for joining me today, man.
Happy to be here.
Real quick, before we do anything with the show today, I'm sure that most people have seen it that watch Let's Talk Sports Network, even Farquad, who has seen, rest in peace here. The man who created this network, Dan Harris, lost his battle with cancer earlier this past weekend, and I'll be honest with you, I've tried making a video about it like a lot of other people have on this network, and I haven't been able to get through it and do one. So I apologize for that. I want to thank everyone that's done a bit of a tribute to him at this point so far, especially Tanner's video was really nice. But moving forward, it's not going to change a whole lot with what we're doing here. Dan had kind of set up what we needed to do moving forward months ago between myself, Tanner, mainly Tanner. He's the main man now. But I can't say enough good things about Dan. I will save that for a different time, though. I don't want to take up everything with the show about that. I just wanted to acknowledge what had happened, and rest in peace, brother. We miss you, and we're gonna keep this network going strong for you, just like you would have wanted it. So,
absolutely.
Into our fantasy stuff here. Can't say fantasy without Botkins as the champ. Get out of here, Nick. Your team sucks right now in our league. That's the place I needed right there for that second. So thank you.
I took the champ down earlier this year, so I'm feeling pretty good.
Yeah, you did beat him, didn't you? I think I lost that matchup. I think that was the week that I lost. I lost somebody in that matchup. I can't remember who to injury, but anyway, real quick, we will go into the Thursday night matchup, Matt. Let's talk some Thursday night tonight because we're going to be able to hit this pretty fast, I think. Kansas City facing Denver. This is going to be an absolute train wreck for Denver, I think. They haven't beaten them in, I got to ask Tanner, but he brings it up like every time. Huh?
2015 was the last time.
Was it really that long? Holy cow. I thought
20.
Jets never being able to beat Philadelphia was bad, but
I couldn't even have a legal drink.
Yeah, right. We fresh out of high school for me a couple of years after. Man, that's crazy. Yeah, this is going to be no different. Like, I know that the Chiefs offense isn't moving like it has been, for the past 5 weeks. It's been a little bit stagnant, but if there's ever a get right matchup, it's Denver and their defense.
Yeah, a couple big things for Denver. No Frank Clark. He's pretty much gone from the team.
He took a pay cut today. Did you see that? And he gave money back to the team.
Yep.
That all but spells that he's going to be traded.
Yeah. They're already exploring trade options for him.
Where do you think he goes? Just for funsies. Should he go to Buffalo with all their injuries?
I think he probably goes back to Kansas City if Denver would allow him to, or if he walks and then they can sign him. I don't know if a trade would happen, but I think he really wants to go back to Kansas City. I don't think Buffalo's in the market for another defensive end. If Buffalo wants to do anything, they need to cover the bases of the injuries that they've had with cornerback and linebacker, maybe even an offensive lineman. But no, I think he probably goes to a place like New England where everybody like that goes, But no Frank Clark, and also the other guy they lost, defensive end. Why am I not remembering his name?
Randy Gregory.
Randy Gregory, thank you. So they're making a lot of
rich get richer. Jesus.
They're making a lot of changes defensively, especially interior already, which is not good because they already weren't good interior. They were really bad, probably the worst in the NFL. So my guess is that Isaiah Pacheco has the game of his life tonight. It would just be
for sure.
I would take him almost at a 2 touchdown prop because I think Kansas City I think they'll burn it down their throats. I think that he will just get goal line work. I just think it's not going to be, Kelsey's still hurt. They don't want to probably put a lot on him. He probably will do okay, but if they don't have to, they won't. I think that the offense for the Broncos is completely stagnant. They're going to run Javonte Williams out there when they should be running Jaleel McLaughlin, who looks phenomenal. He's going to sit on the bench while Williams is subpar. It's just a nightmare for Denver. A lot of people are saying that they might cover the spread, but I don't know. I don't care if it's divisional. The Broncos are reeling right now. They're reeling.
Yeah. And Bodkins has up here, thinking Judy and Sutton could be, or Surtain could be next. Surtain doesn't make sense to me. Why trade Surtain? Because he can be a cornerstone building block to your defense.
Because GM 101, not me, but just GM 101, you don't build your franchise around anything but a cornerback or maybe like an edge rusher or a middle linebacker. Because that's what saves teams. Obviously the edge rush is super important and the quarterback is most important. So you don't want to dive in, put everything into a guy. I like Pat Surtain. I hope he goes to Buffalo. That would change the whole world for the Bills. But
would you give him a first for him if you're Buffalo? It'd be back end. You guys are always.
To be completely honest with you, with the way that Bills have been drafting, sure. I mean,
at least we know what we're getting. Buffalo the past few years,
yeah.
I mean, not in Kincaid's case because it's not really on him as a rookie tight end. He's looked fine. They're just not using him as a feature role.
That's all play calling. I think that he wouldn't garner a first, though. I think he'd garner a second, which a lot of teams aren't going to do that either. But, man, it would be great. The problem with the Bills is they just don't have the money. I think if they had the money, they'd do it today. But, yeah, I understand why they're letting go. The Broncos realistically, obviously, have to deal with Wilson and his contract for, I think, 2 more years. They're probably just preparing for the after Russell Wilson time. And that's not going to involve Pat Surtain. The value is there now. He's young. He's not necessarily in his prime, but he's getting close to that. So now's the time to get what you can get for him. Because in probably 2 years, you're probably only going to get a 5th or 6th or 7th. How the NFL works with that. So I think that's why they might move off him. Judy, same thing. He's also always injury prone, so it doesn't confuse me at all.
The Judy thing, it's already been reported that it's essentially a done deal. He's going to be gone before the deadline. They're most likely going to keep Sutton. I don't think they're going to get enough for Sutton. I think that's the problem. But when it comes to Judy, it's over. He's going to go somewhere. Where? I couldn't tell you. Carolina makes the most sense. They're trying to trade for a wide receiver 1, even though they traded away their wide receiver 1 for Bryce Young. Just a dumb move in my opinion, but maybe he goes there. But if you're a Judy manager, you just kind of got to hold on to him and wait. I wouldn't play him anytime soon. This gauntlet that he's got over the next few weeks before the deadline is horrible matchups. Guys, I'm going to get to your questions in a second. Real quick, Matt, we'll run through Kansas City and Chicago. Tell me if you're starting them or not. Mahomes, obviously, he should have a massive game. Pacheco, we just talked about him. He's top 10 for the Kansas City side. Any receivers you trust?
Rashee Rice is starting.
Yeah, Rashee Rice is my pick. Yeah,
he's starting to blossom. He's definitely going to be a boom player, I think, for fantasy this year. I don't know if he has the consistency to, expect, a certain. His floor is definitely pretty low, but he could have a big game. I just really think that, and I have Kelsey in fantasy, so unfortunately I have to say this. I think they're probably going to do everything they can to not have to involve him as much as they need to and win other ways. Because really in the Minnesota game, he came back because there was a chance that they were going to lose that game. Minnesota was giving him a hard show. And Kelsey saved them. He saved their butts. So I think it's a lot of Noah Gray. I think it's a lot of Rashee Rice. I think it's a lot of Pacheco. And a little bit of CEH. I think a little bit of CEH too. He's been getting involved. Yeah, they're trying their best to get their money's worth for him. So unfortunately, no McKinnon. They just are not using him as I expected. But yeah, I don't think it's a huge day for Mahomes either. I think that they're going to be very methodical. That the Chiefs want to win. They don't care about the Bills and the Chiefs are different in the sense that Josh Allen would throw 100 on these guys. Patrick Mahomes would throw 35 and be fine with that. Excuse me. And they would play defense, run the ball, end the game. So I think it's a lesser day for Mahomes, just because of the way the game is going to go.
His floor is lower this week, just based purely on the matchup. They could really just focus on running the ball. I still think he's a top 5 play. He could easily throw 4 touchdowns inside the red zone and have less than 200 yards. Like, it's one of those games where that can happen. Kelsey, you're playing him. On the other side, who are you playing on Denver, if anybody? I'm avoiding Russell Wilson. This is a horrible matchup for him. I don't want any of the receivers. No Judy, no Sutton. Dolchich is supposed to be back this week as well, so I don't want him, and I don't want any part of that receiving core. The real question is, do you play any of the running backs? I got McLaughlin at 24. I think he is back end RB2
He's a
with
stud.
flex side. Yeah,
He's
he's good, man.
Williams is unfortunately going to waste Denver's time and his time, but he's proven that he can be a great pass catcher, great runner. It's going to take probably another couple of weeks, but I would expect to see him as the RB1 for Denver by the middle to the end of the season. So if you have him in fantasy, hold on to him. He's not going anywhere, and Williams could get hurt, in the first play. Like, he's very injury prone too. So, but this is a situation in Denver where they're going to start offshoring a lot, and guys that they are getting there to promising, like the rookies, they're going to get fed, and the volume is going to be there tremendously because they don't have to pay these guys a lot of money. So, we're going to see what we got, and also it's kind of just fodder, I guess, if you will. But Jaleel McLaughlin's not just fodder. He's very good. He's very efficient.
Yeah, he's the only play for me this week on Denver's side of the ball. I mean, obviously, don't play their defense. Kansas City's defense is a good play. If you got Kansas City, I think they're a top 10 play this week. Let's get to Farkad's question real quick. Start sit question, start a wide receiver and a flex from this group. Standard format. You got Kirk, Godwin, Josh Downs, Pierce, I'm assuming is Damian Pierce, McKinnon, and Foreman. So we get 1 star, and we have to have 1 wide receiver at least. You got to play Kirk against Indy. That defense is horrible against
Kirk.
the pass.
Kirk has proven himself to be the most consistent receiver in Jacksonville. I love Kirk. He's a top 20 play probably every week for me. Godwin, I like Godwin more than all of the other guys too. Mike Evans is still banged up. He probably will play.
No, I don't know, man. This is 2 straight practices missed with that hammy.
Yeah, it's really
off of the bye. I'm not
a big
I'm
game
not
for them
expecting him
too.
to play this week.
I love Godwin in this spot, though. He's going to get fed. And it was obviously proven, too, when Evans went out, that Godwin was still getting fed because he just plays a different game. He's not an outside receiver. He's going to play the inside. He's going to be in the slot. So Godwin is definitely my second pick. Foreman could be a good one potentially with what they decide to do, but it's unsure. Blossom might be the guy because he's been there, so he might know the playbook a little bit better, but Foreman's going to get some carries.
He's more of the fullback in that offense, so I'm going to lean on Foreman. So that's the question for me. Kirk is the yes. It's down to Godwin and Foreman. I think I'm just going to pick Godwin, especially if Evans is out. It's easy Godwin number 2. I know you want to start Foreman, but it's standard. So, like, Godwin's not as valuable in a standard format. All those receptions aren't adding up to what you want. But he's got a much better shot at finding a touchdown this week if Evans misses. Let's go to Smitty. He says standard format, 10-man league. His squad's 2 and 3. He wants to know what moves we would make. His quarterback room is Jordan Love, CJ Stroud. I think you're fine there. Stroud will be the most played out of the 2. Oh, I'm sorry. He said PPR. Now standard is turning into PPR. So, like, we got to rename standard format to non-reception or non-points per reception. But anyways, Love and Stroud. You keep Stroud. Love is fine as a backup. I know that he imploded over the past couple of weeks. His matchups are phenomenal moving forward. So if you want to spot start him, after the bye, see when he comes back into looking more like the guy that he was the first 4 weeks, that would work. But Stroud is the guy you're going to ride. Running back room is Montgomery, who in my opinion is a top 5 back rest of season. And then Ken Walker, another top 10 back rest of season. So I think you're good there. He's got Mixon and Jonathan Taylor behind those guys. I would put Mixon at 3 there, and then JT is kind of a question mark. This is where we run into some stuff here with the wide receivers. Justin Jefferson, hurtful. He lost A-Chain. It's just as bad. He's got Puka, Waddle, Deontay Johnson, Olave. and Josh Downs, and then his tight ends are Kittle and Ertz. Now you got to remember this is 10 team league, so it's a little bit more stacked than your normal 12 team league. He just added real quick, taking some insane unlucky losses. Unfortunately, played Tyreek Moser and Devonta when they all dropped 50. Jesus, dude, your points against has got to be horrible. But I understand. I've been there in a couple leagues this year myself. Man, it's crazy because I really like this squad. I don't want to change too much. I love your running back room. You've got Montgomery and Walker you're playing every week. Mixon is a great 3, and then JT could prove to be huge. I love Puka. If anything, last week it was proven that Matt Stafford can support 2 top 15 fantasy wide receivers in Puka and Cooper Kupp. Your tight end room is perfectly fine. You've got Ertz and Kittle. Ertz is one of my favorite guys to stash and play when you need him over the next 10 weeks because he's got 7 really good matchups. And then it's really just wide receiver. I mean, I think you're going to have to try and bulk up on wide receiver just a little bit more. Anybody that you would package there, Matt, to try and upgrade at wide receiver?
So I am on the different side of a lot of people. I really feel like Justin Jefferson might take quite a bit of time to come back, more than 4 weeks on the IR. So if I had Justin Jefferson, I would put him on the trade block and I would see what people want. I would
Smith, for example.
Only problem, my issue with the Eagles receivers.
Yeah, I know. Go ahead.
Is the depth goes away when you lose Mixon at that point because A-Chain, same thing. He's probably going to take 4 to 5 weeks to come back. That's like almost the whole rest of the fantasy season. And it's really a question of, do you have the ability to wait? There's might be guys who are 5-0 who might say, I can take Jefferson and I can take the, maybe a hit a week or two, a loss here or there, and then have him for the playoffs, whereas you might not be able to do that. It's losing Mixon only gives you Montgomery and Walker. So
and JT. So
and JT.
Would you rather trade JT or Mixon? Because I think if he offers one of those 2 guys, he'll get Devonta Smith.
Mixon, and it's not that I don't like Mixon. Mixon's ceiling is way lower than JT's ceiling. JT's ceiling is sky's the limit. Yeah, he didn't look phenomenal coming back out, but he hadn't played in God knows how long. He's going to be the back. I think Mixon's an easy 10 points a game. Like, he's almost always 10 points a game, but he hasn't been doing the high ceiling games that we've known to see him do, not even last year, 2 years ago at this point. So I leaned keeping JT for now. But I don't know if Devonta Smith, he is so hot and cold. And it's because the Eagles receivers, they pick either A.J. Brown, now Dallas Goedert, or Devonta Smith. And one of them gets ultimately fed the entire game and the rest barely get anything. And it's really damaging.
One of my players that I've been trying to target in all my leagues, purely because of schedule, and he's struggled a little bit, is Tyler Lockett. His schedule upcoming, the entire Seahawks roster upcoming schedule is fan-freaking-tastic for the pass. So I'm trying to target teams that have him as a wide receiver 3 or wide receiver 4, and he's done nothing for them so far. He's, had the bye week. They're probably frustrated. Thing is I think you'd be giving up too much with what you've got there. So maybe you package. Well, it's tough, and I'm not staring at like all the other teams, so it's hard to see who has what that I can trade. If you want Devonta Smith, I think trading either Mixon or Taylor straight up for him is fine. I know Matt's got his reservations, but he's going to have his top 5 weeks. That's just what's in his DNA. But I still think you might get frustrated, with what his production is. When you're looking at the guys that you've got, I can already tell you're probably frustrated with what Waddle's done because he hasn't done that much. Kittle's had 2 good games, I think, through 5 weeks. Olave has had 2 really bad weeks in a row, but now Derek Carr is getting a little bit healthier, so hopefully that'll help. It's tough, man. Like, I think getting a Devonta Smith is a good idea, but you might get frustrated again with that. So I'm going to get to some other questions, but stay there. We, as we talk through some more of these, I think we might think of some more options to try and trade for maybe. Let's go to AS real quick. Should I trade Amari and Hopkins for DK Metcalf, half PPR? His wide receivers are Cup, Amari, Christian Watson, Zay Flowers, Hopkins, Godwin. His running backs are Pollard, Swift, Kamara, Najee, Kendre, Rico Dowdle. And then he'll add up because I saw you shaking your head already. If not those two, are there two you'd be willing to let go of for DK?
Go back to his list.
Hold on a second. He said my QB, Anthony Richardson and Geno, getting ready to put in claims for Howell and Stroud on waivers tomorrow. Tight ends, Fryermuth and Njoku. I'll put the list back up real quick.
So I would take out Amari. Amari is, I would say, close to, if not either, for me, at the same level as Metcalf. So I don't think it's much of a gain to lose Hopkins as well. So I think if you're going to trade for Metcalf, I would do Metcalf or Hopkins and maybe Watson or Flowers, or even Godwin. I would be fine with either three of those with Hopkins, because Hopkins has done very well. He had almost a 20-point week last week. Depending on your format, he had over 20. Getting fed a lot. He's been well into the system. He just hasn't had the touchdowns yet. So Hopkins has not been too bad either. But I would not sell Amari and give another piece for Metcalf. I just don't think that, if Metcalf's 100, Amari's 95, and you're giving up another 70 for Hopkins, so you're way over point wise.
I can see it. I really want Metcalf with the schedule that's coming up, and he's done well. So if this is the only thing you can do to get him, I don't hate it.
Let me preface that first. Don't give your best offer first.
Yeah.
Give up a moderately.
This might be the offer they were given to get Metcalf. So I totally get it. Working through trades like
crop them down a little bit.
Yeah.
I think Flowers, Watson, or Godwin and Hopkins. I mean, that's a totally fair trade. Watson is the wide receiver one in Green Bay. Godwin is very consistent. Hopkins has done very well in Tennessee. So if this guy needs depth, I think all of those are fair offers.
If you get a choice of those ones that Matt just named, I would pair Godwin with them just to get rid of the potential headache when Mike Evans is back. And then you'll have Metcalf, Kupp, Amari Cooper. You could throw Watson at your 4, which is awesome with his high touchdown upside. That'd be really nice. If your trade partner needs a running back in this situation to make it work, do not trade Pollard, Swift. I mean, I would try to keep Kamara if you could. He says that he's offered Hopkins and Godwin. He won't take it. So it sounds like you're going to have to give up the Amari.
I wouldn't. I understand wanting Metcalf.
It's a bit of an overpay. I agree. But if you really want Metcalf and you believe he's going to have a really big end of the season here, I might take it. I'm in a trading mood, though. So I've been trying to make some stuff happen in all my leagues. So Valen, start to full PPR, DK, DJ Moore, Olave, Nico Collins. So definitely DJ Moore. You can't sit him after the games that he's having. He's also
against the Vikings.
And yeah, he's got such a good matchup against Minnesota. You can't sit him. Ooh, man, this is tough. So DK, the good matchups don't kick in this week. Cincinnati's not a good matchup. It's tough for fantasy wide receivers.
Nico's got the Saints though.
Yeah, and Olave's playing Houston, who's pretty stingy, and you got noodle arm Derek Carr. I would
do DK. Yeah, DK and DJ Moore.
Mm-hmm. Yep, agreed there for sure. AS says I haven't tried Watson or Flowers with Hopkins. Try Watson. I think I would keep Flowers because I really like. He's had fantastic target share. The touchdowns just haven't come yet, and his upcoming schedule is nice. So I think that as we get deeper into the season, Flowers is probably going to be a guy that's super affordable right now. That's on a lot of championship teams down the road as a pretty consistent weekly flex. So try Watson. See if he'll take Watson. If it happens during this and you get the answer to that, let us know. We'll go on from there. JAC, should I trade Rashad White, and Hollywood Brown for Bijan? Abso-freaking-lutely.
I want to be in that league.
Right? Wow. I don't think I can get Bijan for 3 of my best players.
Wow.
Yeah, smash that, buddy. Smash
Hurry
that
hurry
right
up and
now.
do it before they back out or they realize they
Yeah,
messed up.
maybe they're one of the 5 people watching this right now, and that wouldn't be good. We got our buddy Alan. He asks, is Brandon Powell a good guy to take a stab at in leagues with Jefferson out? I mean, why not? There's 3 other targets ahead of him for sure. Hawkinson, Osborne,
AJ.
Addison are the 3 guys. Powell's got some explosiveness, though. He showed it last year. And if he's getting active roster on game day now, he's one of those players that gets those end-around touches. He'll take carries here and there. You need something, they're going to use him. So,
Look for a lot more receptions to Alexander Madison. They're coming.
Checkdowns could happen. Yeah, Kirk needs to do that anyways. He needs to check down a little bit more to his running back. It's the same thing with Allen. These guys need to check down, take those easy completions to their running backs because
don't remind me.
I'm not the biggest Madison fan. I think he's a bit overhyped.
He's been doing better than I was worried. I was worried there for a second he was going to be a mega bust, but he's doing
well.
okay.
The matchups are playing in his favor now, but like this one against Chicago, he should eat. Mm-hmm. I'm not confident he's going to. I'm worried, man. I'm not super confident about it. But yeah, I mean, I think Powell's a perfectly fine stat, especially if you're playing in a 12 or 14 team league. Dude, I know you know what our waivers look like. Powell is not a bad option when you're looking at those waivers compared to the
incoming
others.
Allen taking Brandon Powell in our Let's Talk league.
Yeah. And no, I will not trade you Josh Jacobs for Devontae Smith. We've had this conversation already. I've had these trade-offs.
He tried to give me Smith too. He tried to give me Smith too. He doesn't realize my disdain for Eagles receivers.
Yeah, we should listen to the show. Let's get into the rankings, Matt, while we wait for some more questions to flow in. Here's my top 24 quarterbacks this week. I will go through the top 15 real quick. You got Mahomes at 1, Josh Allen at 2, Jalen Hurts at 3, Justin Fields at 4, Lamar Jackson 5, Cousins at 6, Tua's at 7, Herbert's at 8, Lawrence at 9, 10, we got Joe B, 11, Jared Goff, 12, Matt Stafford, 13, Howell, 14, Geno, 15, Brock Purdy. Anyone on that list you want to talk about real quick while we are sitting here looking at this?
So I like when you do these rankings because I always look at it, and it's not that I disagree with the ranking, but I always think to myself, who is going to score the most points? That's really what we're trying to figure out here.
Yeah.
So if I were to do a top 5 for this week, number 1 is going to be Justin Fields. I think he's going to score the most points.
Please, I need it this week.
I think 2 is Josh Allen. I think 3 will probably be some interesting matchups this week. I'm going to put Mahomes at 3.
There's some big names with tough matchups that like the Tua against Carolina. Not tough on paper, not tough when you're looking at it like this on paper, but they're not giving up a lot through the air because teams are just decimating them on the ground. So this could be a Tua week where he throws a touchdown or 2 and hits 200 yards, and that's all they need him to do.
So I'll put Kirk at 3, Patrick at 4. But it's tough, man. I mean, he should, but I really think the game log could be different. It's also Thursday night, and the unders are king in Thursday night, so that's always worries me too.
Have they been all year this year, Matt? I feel like there's been a couple of banger Thursday night games so far.
I think the over hit once. I'll have to look at that though. And number 5, I would probably give it to Joe Burrow. I think Joe Burrow is back. I think
he's got that max ceiling for top 5 this week. I'm just hedging a little bit because Seattle had the bye. They're getting Jamal Adams back. Not that he's great pass coverage, but pass rush is Jamal Adams' bread and butter. Just, things are still working out with T. Higgins. I think that matchup is going to be a little closer than people think.
I think a good play this week, if you have to desperately, is Dak Prescott. I think he will have a good game.
Man, dude, I'm so nervous.
I'm talking guys
out not finished top 15.
I'm talking guys outside the top 12. If you had to pick,
I got it.
Yeah.
Okay.
Like if you got a bye week or something, somebody's on a bye week. I think that Prescott with the matchup, it's probably going to be a high scoring Monday night game. I think that he probably will get quite a few touchdowns, maybe 2 or 3. So might save his fantasy day. He also has a bit of a demon on his back right now. They got to figure it out in Dallas.
Yeah, he's got to do something.
I wouldn't say it's a must win for Dallas, but it's definitely getting to that point now.
Already 2 games back in the division, and Philadelphia plays the Jets, Matt.
Well, losing to the Cardinals was inexcusable. Speaking of the Cardinals, I don't hate Josh Dobbs either. I don't hate Matt Stafford. I think it's going to be
Yeah,
another
I feel
game
like I
where you
got
see a
Dobbs
lot
a
of
little too
points.
low. I might have to bump up Dobbs above Carr, I think. Because Carr's noodle arm just scares the crap out of me.
Deshaun Watson in San Francisco, you can get him off the board. Daniel Jones against Buffalo, he shouldn't even be on here. I would almost take Desmond Ridder before I would take Daniel Jones against
Right
Buffalo.
behind Jones, I got Bryce Young, and I think that will probably flip. I'll probably
Jones
put
is
Bryce
all
Young
first
in the
off, he's
top
hurt, and
4.
that team is defeated right now. They probably hate the fact that they have to go to Buffalo on Sunday Night Football because one, Barkley, I think he's back, but he's coming off of multiple weeks of not playing. Buffalo just got beat by Jacksonville in London. They're probably going to be the most aggressive they've been all season.
He's talking about Dak, by the way, who he just dropped, but he's got Purdy. This week, not the greatest against Cleveland, but I'd take it over Dak.
Yeah. The Giants are in a recipe for disaster on Sunday Night Football. It's going to be ugly.
Manuel, real quick. What's up, guys? Javonte or Jaleel, full PPR? Well,
what a question, man. That is.
Well, for me, I'll give it to you because you'll see my running back rankings in a minute. I got Jaleel at 24, and then Javonte just missed my top 30. So give me Jaleel. I'll take Jaleel over. I'll take the explosiveness of Jaleel over Javonte coming back again and, kind of just eking his way into this lineup this week through the injury report. I'll take the explosive guy.
Javonte's just been so mid. He's been so mid.
It's the injury, man. He should not be playing, and I hate it because I fell for it. God damn it! But that's just the way it is. He healed from the injury, and that's great. But just because he healed doesn't mean that he is up to snuff in terms of playing on the field. It's just not there. Javonte is better than what he looks like, and I guarantee you, by next season, whether he's on this team or not, he'll look better than he did this year. But yeah, for me, Jaleel. And I think Jaleel will work in more on passing downs to catch passes rather than just be a blocker. So you agree with that, or are you still going to go Javonte?
I know they're going to start Javonte, but I feel like if they want to win, they got to get Jaleel involved. I'll roll with. I don't want to say it and then he picks the wrong one, but I'm going to roll with Jaleel too. I don't have a lot of faith in Javonte. Like, he might be the starter, but he might let's see, he gets 60 yards. It's only 6 fantasy points for most leagues, so it's full PPR. So, I mean, if he gets the rushes, that does help.
I'll highlight 2 guys real quick before we move on to the running backs. Stafford is my stream of the week this week. Arizona is horrible. They're 4th again. They give up the 4th most points to quarterbacks. He's got Kupp back. Puka's there. They got rid of that friggin' wind sprint champion in Van Jefferson, and they're going to use Tutu as the 3 exclusively now. So I think that Stafford's been fine. The problem for fantasy hasn't scored a lot of touchdowns. It's been they get into the red zone and then they give it straight to Kyren Williams. The Arizona Cardinals are decent against the run, especially inside the 20s. They'll throw more touchdowns this week. Multi-TD game for Matt Stafford. I think we're good there. And then CJ Stroud, he was my start last week. Didn't work out. They had their letdown game. I'm not rolling him back out there this week against New Orleans. If you can move on to somebody else, I'd give it a shot. But if you're forced, you could do worse. New Orleans scares the crap out of me. So
I'm super excited now that Tutu has started to be in. I've held on to his Chrome rookie autograph card I've had for a long time, and I was really hoping he would actually be something. So I'm glad he's at least in the games now.
Okay, got a couple more questions. Chris, should I trade London and Zach Moss for Zay Flowers, or London and Sanders for Jacoby Myers? Ooh, man, that's tough. I love both Flowers and Myers. I've been trying to acquire Myers for a long time.
I almost like Myers more.
Yeah, give me the second offer there because I don't want. I think you're overpaying a little bit for Flowers with Moss in London. You're going to be able to use Moss the next 2-3 weeks, I think, as a decent option. Like, I know that JT is going to work in more and more and more, but Moss has been too good for them to just give him like 2 carries and say sayonara to the bench. But London and Sanders for Jacoby, all day I would do that for sure. Z Smitty is back. He says he's been thinking, what if he gave up Justin Jefferson and Mixon for A.J. Brown? Do it up. Now, listen, I will say this. I'm not in the same boat as Matt, and it's not because I have Jefferson in a league I care about most. This is legitimately me just kind of following every report that I can, especially out of Minnesota. Even if this team isn't winning games up to that point, which I think they got a chance to win 2 or 3, Jefferson is going to come back. That dude cares about one thing and one thing only. One, his contract that's coming up. And two, he wants to be the best wide receiver that's ever played football. He wants the numbers.
I'll argue
He's
that.
going to come back and play. He's too competitive not to.
I'll argue that sentiment in the opposite direction. He is worried about that contract, and why run yourself out there and get hurt when you know you're going to get paid no matter what. And honestly, the biggest game is actually this one against the Bears. If they don't beat the Bears this week, I think it takes a lot longer than it probably will need to for Justin to come back, because they're 1-5, lost to the Bears. I mean, at that point, the season is definitely over. Like, not even close to being resembling. You know, they got to play the Lions twice still, I think. Yeah, it's dead in the water. So I get A.J. Brown. A.J. Brown has been exploding.
Over 150 3 weeks in a row. You can't. I mean, you can't. He's going to have his letdown game here or there. That's just the nature of wide receiver, not just in Philadelphia, but in the entire league. Josh Allen has Stephon Diggs. Diggs has his letdown games. Patrick Mahomes, when he had Tyreek Hill had his letdown games. Like, it just happens. But Brown is a top 5 guy moving forward for sure. So if you can give up Justin Jefferson for someone like that, I'm all for that trade. It's these trades where I'm seeing like Justin Jefferson for Jacoby Myers. Like, what are you doing? Just hold on to Jefferson and hope he comes back in 4 weeks. That's not enough to get rid of a guy.
It's got to be a game changer.
It's got to be a game changer. Chris is back. Dotson and Moss for Flowers. I like that one better. Dotson, you're not going to play ever again. Moss, you're going to have him for a couple weeks. Flowers, you're going to play pretty much every week as a good flex.
I got to take my little victory lap here. Curtis Samuel has more fantasy points still than Dotson.
No one cares. Justin.
I don't know.
Justin Watson. I'm sorry, this is Alan. Justin Watson, Darnell Mooney, or Jonnu Smith as a flex this week. You're really diving deep, man. I've been here.
Not Darnell Mooney. Ugh.
Justin Watson or Jonnu? I mean, it might be Darnell for me against Minnesota.
Jonnu.
But Jonnu's banged up right now. He's got a knee injury.
If he's playing, I would do Jonnu.
Yeah, I think I agree. Who's the number 2 then? Who's your number 2
Watson.
in that?
Mooney is literally a zero burger.
Yeah. I'll agree with Matt on this. Trevor, I'll give you JT for Jate. We'll think about that. Maybe. We'll think about that. Would you do that, Matt?
I don't want to say.
Come on. Yeah, because you don't want me to get better, you dick.
No, I need Trevor to be worse.
So you wouldn't take it. That's what you're telling me.
Yeah, maybe not.
We might talk later. Let's move on to running backs real quick. I'll do top 15 real fast, and then I'll let you work your way through the rest. McCaffrey 1, Bijan 2, Eckler 3 in his return game. He gets Baltimore. It's a great matchup for running backs right now. Travis Etienne 4. Huh?
He's back against Dallas.
Did I write Baltimore? Oh,
no,
jeez. Yes.
Get some glasses.
I do need glasses. I think I need to go that route. 5, Pollard. I think he's got a bounce back game in him against the Chargers' terrible run D. David Montgomery against Tampa at 6. Jacobs at 7. Ken Walker 8. 9, Pacheco. He should probably be higher, honestly. But I think I've already got him like 7 spots higher than the ECR, so I didn't want to go too crazy. Kyron just sitting at 10. He's been 10 for me the past 3 weeks. I haven't changed that one at all. Derrick Henry 11, James Cook at 12 in a nice bounce back matchup. Kamara 13, 14 Brees, 15 DeAndre Swift, and then right there is Raheem Mostert at 16 against Carolina. Who you want to talk about there, Matt?
The guy you were just about to say, Saquon Barkley. I think that if he plays, I think he'll have a good game.
Yeah, Buffalo, I'm hedging a little bit there. Once he's back in, he'll probably bump up a couple spots.
Buffalo gives up a lot of big plays to running backs, so I expect that Barkley will probably have a nice 60-yard run or something like that. But he's going to also be their entire offense, so he's definitely going to score. Rachaad White is awfully low. I think I'd move him up.
The Detroit matchup, Matt.
Yeah,
Rachaad White, and I thought that too at first, but I want to give a little bit of context so I don't look stupid. I went back and looked at every game for Rachaad White so far this season. When the matchup is a top 10 matchup for running backs, he is absolutely killing it. Like top 10 production. When it's a bottom 10 team, which is what Detroit is, he has not put up more than 6 fantasy points. So, and that's in half PPR. It's just an efficiency thing. When they can't run the ball against a good defense that's good against stopping the run, Rachaad White just doesn't get it done. It doesn't matter the touches. So put him behind some of these other guys that have better matchups and kind of hedge my bets there.
So the guy that I really don't like this week is Derrick Henry. I don't like the matchup against Baltimore. He's also kind of starting to lose the job to Tyjae Spears. I guess I could say that very loosely, but Tyjae Spears is getting quite a bit of work, and it is definitely affecting his usage. So I'd expect him to probably not have a fantastic. He might get a touchdown and might save his day, but it's probably going to be a tough sledding. It's going to be another ugly game. I'd look at the under for that game too. It's probably going to be like a 14-7 final or something.
Yeah, I can see that. I feel a little low on Mixon, but Seattle matchup isn't fantastic, and I expect this to be more of a throwing game.
Yeah, they're going to throw all day.
Lots of throwing in that one. JT at 21, do you think that's too low, or do you think it's fine just because we don't know what the split's going to look like this week?
It's fine, but you definitely might. He could be the number one. I mean,
that's the problem.
He's got that ability. He might jump up way high in the rankings next week, but Zach Moss looked real good. I mean, he looked better than. I mean, JT.
Dude, I feel wrong not having him here. I really do, but like the Jacksonville matchup isn't fantastic by any means, but for him, it hasn't mattered. It's really just. Oh crap! Now JT's here to take carries away, so I can't confidently start Moss anymore. Is what it's turned into.
Yeah.
Trevor says Bills give up one play and then keep them to like half a yard of carry.
Yep.
But there is no DQ. That's big too. It's funny because the two teams going up against each other this Sunday night. Buffalo lost everybody. It feels like this last week, and then. I was looking at the injury report today to prep for my article for tomorrow for Rotoballer, and 17 players are right now on the Giants list of injured players going into the week on the active roster. This isn't guys that have been out for weeks or on IR. This is active roster. 17 players are on it right now. They don't have enough practice squad players to field a 53 if all those guys were to miss. Let's just put it that way. So they're in a rare situation where like they could just be undermanned if those guys all miss. I don't expect them all to miss, but they're going to miss a lot of guys. Last one I'll ask you about is Ramondre, Matt. Do you think he gets back to it this week? Or if he can't, you just got to be done with him, right?
Yeah, I mean, New England is reeling right now. They actually kind of feel like to me that they might be heading in the direction of not wanting to win games. Because their future is bleak with what they have. So I don't know. I think he probably gets a lot of work. I think they have no trust in Mac now more than ever. You could probably see a quarterback change earlier on in the game if things don't go well. And Vegas, you can run on them. They did play well against Green Bay, though, but it was really them stopping the passing game. Dylan actually had a good game against the Raiders. So you can definitely run on the Raiders.
Chris is back. He says, do we got any ideas to get rid of Javonte? For another running back, probably not. I don't think you're going to get another running back worth it for Javonte.
Sell him now because, like I said, I bet you McLaughlin ends up being the starter, especially when they start making a lot of moves and stuff. Like
it may not even need to be the starter situation. Like this could just be a 1-2 punch, and McLaughlin's the better running back of the two.
Right.
See if you can get some of the guys that I mentioned earlier that are sitting on benches kind of just collecting dust, like Lockett, maybe Jacoby Myers. That one might be tougher. He's had a couple really nice games the past few weeks, so probably have to add a piece to get Myers. But go shoot for some guys at the wide receiver position that have underperformed a little bit, but we're going to get back on track eventually. Like, we're not expecting Lockett to put up 5 points every week. He's going to have his games coming forward. Look at some of the teams in your league that are really struggling at running back right now. Target their bench receivers that you think are going to have a bounce back, or look at their schedules upcoming and see if they've got a lot of good positive ones. See if you can get Javonte to be traded for some of those, because if you can get rid of Javonte and he's not going to hurt your depth, by all means, please trade Javonte. It's not worth keeping him.
Yeah,
At
I
this
think his
point.
value is only going to decrease.
Yeah, no question about it. Let's go to the wide receivers. 1 through 15. Diggs, number 1 this week. I think he's going to absolutely smash the Giants. It might just be Josh Allen throwing to only Stephon Diggs all game long, and it'll work because it doesn't matter. Jamar Chase at 2 against Seattle. Cooper Kupp at 3 against Arizona. Tyreek Hill at 4 versus Carolina. A.J. Brown at 5. I'm a little nervous about that one because of Sauce. They may just put everything to stop A.J. Brown after these last 3 weeks and force Philadelphia to beat him with other players. Keenan Allen at 6 against Dallas. DJ Moore at 7 against Minnesota. CeeDee Lamb at 8 against the Chargers. Amon-Ra St. Brown against the Bucks at 9. 10, Devontae Adams against New England. 11, Brandon Ayuk against Cleveland. 12, Puka against Arizona. 13, Waddle against Carolina. Metcalf at 14 against Cincy. And then Michael Pittman against Jacksonville at 15. Who you want to talk about there, Matt?
So I just love that even with Cooper Kupp back, Puka Nacua is still an absolute elite receiver.
He's killing it, man. You can't keep him out of the top 12 right now. Not in these types of matchups.
And he actually is getting a lot of like end zones now, end zone looks. And Cooper Kupp's really kind of taking in all the receptions. But Puka's still getting 8 targets, 10 targets. You know, a guy you're sleeping on is Adam Thielen. Adam Thielen is the number 10 receiver in the league right now in fantasy. He's been unbelievable. And I don't know if it's just we're still nervous that he's not going to keep doing it consistently, but he has. He continues to do it day in and day out. So I think
there's 2 guys on this list for this week that I have contemplated pushing all the way back behind Thielen, and you tell me if you would play Thielen over them. Cooper at San Francisco. You playing Thielen or are you playing Cooper?
I would probably play Thielen. I mean, that's an ugly matchup for
McLaurin at Atlanta.
Thielen.
You play Thielen? Okay. Then that would probably be what I would change. So drop Cooper and Terry, so he would move all the way up to 22. Still think that's pretty good, especially compared. Like, there's guys up in this top 20 that got phenomenal matchups. Ridley against Indy, Pittman against Jacksonville, Puka and Cooper Kupp against Arizona, Amon-Ra against Tampa. I mean, DJ Moore against Minnesota, for God's sakes. Like, there's guys that have been outside the top 15 that move up for me this week because the matchups are just too good.
Is T. Higgins playing? I thought he was potentially out again.
He's practicing today, and they're expecting that he's most likely going to suit up this week. Against Seattle, I can't say no to that. That's a good matchup.
Yes, okay. I was curious.
Ooh, okay. Hold on. This is a good question, Matt. Chris, would you do Javonte for Jerome Ford, or do you think that's too low? I would take
Jerome Ford.
I don't like Jerome Ford this week. The matchup is horrible for Jerome Ford. But moving forward, if you're asking me which one I'd want rest of the season, give me Jerome Ford.
Absolutely, Jerome Ford.
100%. Like,
he's going to get
Kareem Hunt will work in a little more, I think, but he's already passed his bye. They're definitely going to make him still the lead back. And even if it's a 60-40 split, I mean, we saw what Chubb was doing, and I know these guys aren't Chubb, but they like to run inside the red zone. So Ford all the way, man. Give me that. Hopefully you can get that done if that's what they take, because that's a good trade. I didn't even think of someone like Ford probably because in my mind I would much rather have Ford than Javonte, so I'm not thinking that I'm going to be able to get that trade. I feel like I might have Ridley a little too low against Indy, but I don't know if I could put him above a guy like Metcalf, or I should probably put him above Jalen Waddle.
Well, the problem is Kirk has been, really phenomenal, and there's a lot of weeks where he's beaten Ridley.
Since that bad week 2, every week it's gotten a little bit better for Calvin Ridley, and he's the guy this year so far that's been dragged at the 1, just like Amon-Ra was the guy that was dragged at the 1 last year multiple times. So I think that's maybe that turns around this week, especially against Indy. So I'm wondering if I should bump him up a little bit. The one guy I've gotten asked about already a lot, Matt, is Olave. He's had 2 really bad weeks. He salvaged it a little bit with a touchdown last week, but just 14 receiving yards. What do you do with Olave? You starting him with more confidence as we get further removed from the Derek Carr shoulder injury, or you still nervous?
I think he's a candidate for me to be moving off my roster. Hopefully, I can get something good because he was drafted at a high number. And since he was drafted at a high number, chances are he's going to be in every lineup. You just got to play him. You have to. And really, it's more about Carr, I would say, than it is about Olave.
Hold on. We got Chris real quick, and then we get Bucks on top. Najee or Ford rest of the season? Ford. If he wants Najee instead, do it up. I want this league, man. I want in this league so I can get Jerome Ford for these bad players.
Yeah, Najee. See, the problem with a lot of people who play fantasy is name recognition does not equate to fantasy relevance. Najee is obviously a more popular, obvious name than Jerome Ford because Jerome Ford was a backup for his entire career. But he's going to get way more volume, way more efficiency, and honestly, Najee could be a backup by the time Jalen Warren, gets another game or two in him. I mean, he's looked better all season. He's probably gonna end up taking up more of.
This is the buy. This is the buy. This is where they make the change, I think.
Yeah. So I love Ford over Najee. Absolutely.
Bucks on top. Do I start Higgins with his injury over Tank Dell? Well, I'll make that easy for you. Tank Dell is probably about 80% chance not playing this week with the concussion. No practice again today. So he's got it. The problem with the concussion protocol this year, and I can thank the fantasy footballers listening to their podcast every day for this info. Only one player, and that was Luke Musgrave, played the week after they were put into the protocol. And the only reason that happened was because he played on Thursday night the week before. He had the extra 3 days to clear protocol. That's not the case with Tank Dell. He's got to practice once, at least a limited fashion, and then make a full practice to come back from the injury. The NFL will not let him out of the protocol until that happens. He's already run out of time. So Higgins for you, Ben. You might have other options, obviously, if those are the ones that you're thinking about. But even if Tank was playing, I would play Higgins this week. The matchup is too good to not take advantage of. Matt, are you worried about the 49ers at all going up against Cleveland? Their receiving options after their big week last week?
I'm actually a little worried about Debo.
Me too. I've thought about putting him lower, like behind guys like Devonta Smith and maybe Cooper and stuff like that.
I mean, Debo is a big play guy, so realistically, he could save his day off of one play, but Cleveland's going to give him a hard time on defense.
Chris, Kyren Williams. Don't go crazy here. Don't go crazy.
Kyren Williams? Let me look at this for a second. Kyren Williams, so far through the fantasy's entirety.
He's been great, man. He's been great.
He is, I want to say he's RB5. He is RB5. Look at that. I was right. He is RB5. And this guy is going to take him for Javonte Williams.
If he takes Kyren Williams, boom. Get Kyren Williams.
You love to see it.
Easy question there for us. Kyren Williams for sure. SMN, should I sell Devon Achane for Jerome Ford? He's 0-5. If no, who else would? Yeah. If that's the best you're getting.
Unfortunately.
Yes. If you're 0-5, you can't wait.
You have to win now.
You can't wait the 4 weeks. Ford is going to help you now. Achane is going to sink you.
I agree.
Take it. If you do have other offers, please throw them in the comments of offers that you were given for Achane. But if that's what you can get right now with how good Ford can be, give me Ford all day long. Matt, let's move on to the tight ends real quick before we end this. Top 12. I'll go 15. Travis Kelce at 1, Hawkinson 2, Goddard 3, Andrews 4, Laporta 5, Evan Ingram 6, Waller 7. He may be all they got against Buffalo, so that might be a Waller game. Kittle 8, 9 Zach Ertz, 10 Logan Thomas, 11 Cole Kmet, 12 Ferguson, 13 Hunter Henry, 14 Tyler Conklin, 15 Kyle Pitts. Who you want to talk about?
Well, just as a notification, Cole Kmet's close to not playing.
I got one earlier that said he was good to go. What the hell happened?
Nah, he was limited again today. Well,
this is not good. This is not good radio now. So I'm going to fill this. It looks okay. Yeah, no, I see that now. Limited. I mean, that doesn't mean he won't play. The one I'm most concerned with, I don't know if you saw this right before we went on air. Sam Laporta did not practice today. He's got a calf injury.
Oh, that's brutal.
Massive, 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 massive. Horrible, horrible.
Tampa Bay would have stifled him anyway. They're one of the best defenses against the tight end. So
yeah, but he's played so well, gotten so many targets, it doesn't matter.
yeah, he's a beast.
Let's go to Jay real quick, then we'll finish that conversation. Hi, guys. Thanks for another great show. You're very welcome. Why is Moss being looked down on this week for the Colts? Surely he's going to have the ball a lot with Minshew at QB.
I love.
So I don't know if it's really looking down on him. I think it's more of a concern of they've already talked about JT is going to continue to increase his load every week. They've already talked about it this week that he's going to get more touches going into this game. I think it's more of your mix and matchup. Jacksonville has been pretty good against the run. They stifled Buffalo to -4 rushing yards for James Cook last week. And I know these guys are totally different players. Moss has been smashing it all season long. If you're worried about playing him, you can absolutely still play him. I think he maxes out as a top 15 option again, but
he's a flex, good flex.
Yeah, we're trying to hedge our bets, I think, in the industry because this JT situation is so strange, especially after last week when Moss comes in and just dominates after JT got paid. I think we're all just gun shy.
I think Moss has done so much that it would be really hard for them to get him out of the lineup.
Yeah. I think what it's going to turn into at best is it's going to be just 50-50, and you got to hope that Moss can continue to do what he's been doing on half the touches that he's been getting.
Yeah. So basically, as soon as Moss starts to fall off, unfortunately for him, they'll just go right to JT and he'll get 80% of the workload. But hopefully Moss can continue to do that, and he's been really good. So, and I don't think they want to pour on a ton on JT. He hasn't played in a long time. They want to get him back, and they don't want to, lose him. I mean, this team is in contention for the division. They're playing well.
This game is huge for them. Jacksonville, this is for the division lead.
I actually have the Colts winning this game, believe it or not.
I don't think it's a bad pick. It's just you got to trust Minshew. Can Minshew lead them to a win this week?
Jacksonville coming back from London. That was their home games. Now they're coming back to their away stadium. I like the Colts. I really do. I think the Colts win.
He said, "Thanks, guys, from here in the UK. Appreciate it. We love our friends in the UK. You guys give such a good perspective on football too. I just got to say that I love talking to guys like Paul Hope and Gary Thorpe and all these guys in the UK that are here on LTS. Like their perspective on football, because they're such diehards over there, is so much better than talking to some of the people here in the States." Chris, if Laporta doesn't play, would you play Stroud over Goff? No, and I understand the question, but the matchup with Tampa is perfect for him to still capitalize. If he loses Laporta, he's also getting back Amon-Ra St. Brown. Jameson Williams is in week 2. Josh Reynolds will be the 3. I'm not worried about them passing game-wise, and they're going to sell out to stop Montgomery. The Bucks are just really good against the run. SMN, would Ramondre be a better get over Jerome Ford for Devon Achane, Matt?
No, I think it's Jerome.
Yeah, I think I would go
crazy.
for just.
It is crazy that I'm saying that, but I wouldn't be. I think it's okay if you want Ramondre instead, but I think Ford is probably going to get more. But if you were to look at from now to the end of the year, Ford probably takes it. He probably does.
So I'll run through this real quick because I wrote an article 2 weeks ago now about guys that you need to trade for because of upcoming schedule, opportunity, all that fun stuff, right? So Ramondre, here are his next matchups that you can try and capitalize on. Las Vegas, they just gave up 80-something yards to A.J. Dillon, for God's sake. So if A.J. Dillon can do it, I think Ramondre can. Buffalo, we already talked about how bad they've been against the run. They've got a plethora of injuries. They can't stop it, and it's only going to get worse. Miami can't stop the run. That's their 3rd week. Washington, bad matchup. then Indy, the Giants, the Chargers, and Pittsburgh, who are all top 10 in points allowed to the running back position. They've got one bad match. He's got one bad matchup until week 15.
So let's put it this way, too. Jerome Ford didn't play. He did play week 1, but he wasn't the starter. Also, they've had a bye week 5. He is RB21 this year in fantasy, and Stevenson is 27 with being the starter and not missing any time. No bye weeks. So he's already outdoing Stevenson, and he's already had his bye week, and he wasn't the starter in week 1. I mean, that tells you, and he wasn't the starter in week 2 either. So
I mean, he got
good work.
Over a half of that, yeah. Yeah.
So, I mean,
my vote is Stevenson. Matt's vote is Ford. I hope that helps you. It probably doesn't.
It is tough.
Like this, it's so hard, man.
that one's a hair splitter, I think.
Yeah, for sure. Jay's with you. He's got Colts 21-14. I think that score might be too low. I think both teams score more than that, honestly. This might be a barn burner.
The London lag.
That's true. Let's go. Let's see. So, yeah, the Laporta one is big. If he doesn't play, man, dude, tight end's already so bad this year. Why do we got to lose good ones, man? That's horrible. Matt, what are you doing about Kyle Pitts?
I see he's not. I see he's not on this 24 list here.
I wish he was.
It's a wait and see. Hopefully, it continues.
No, seriously, and I think that it gets lost. Like we hate Kyle Pitts, and that's not the case. I think we think Kyle Pitts is a great football player. It's just the situation he's in is horrible, and it's been proven time and time again. But of course, last week I drop him all the way down because I'm tired of playing him, and he goes absolutely bonkers, and everybody calls me stupid. I'm telling you, I don't think it's something that's going to be sustainable, especially in this offense. I don't know. You can play him this week if you want. I'm not doing it. I've got him at 15 for a reason. Friggin' Tyler Conklin's above him because he's been getting work with Zach Wilson, and now he plays Philadelphia, who's third in points allowed to the position. So, like, I'm still splitting hairs on these guys that aren't rostered in a lot of leagues with Kyle Pitts, if that makes sense.
Yeah. No, it's a wait and see, but some people have to play him, and I think it's okay.
No, you don't. Tyler Conklin's on every waiver wire. You could play Tyler Conklin over.
Hunter Henry had 0 points last week. I mean, these guys, if I'm looking at upside, give me Kyle Pitts over Conklin, Henry, Ferguson, and that's probably it. I would rather have Komet. I'd rather have Thomas. I'd rather have Ertz, and then the rest.
These running back questions are getting so good. Is Brian Robinson a better option than Ford and Ramondre?
Yes. Brian Robinson's been actually pretty decent this year.
Yeah. He's had a great season. Matt and I have both already said our apologies because we were both way off him. So, for sure, Allen is Spears going to get more carries spelling Henry in Tennessee. Probably.
It's already started.
So, it's funny. In real life, obviously, fantasy and real life football kind of have parallels, but there's weirdly players that are bad for fantasy that are great for football. And when it comes to Henry, his real life scoring and fantasy scoring shoot all the way up once November hits. It starts to get colder. He's a better player. It's just weird. Don't know why it is. Yes, Henry can bounce back, but 5 weeks is a big sample, and they have used Spears more than Henry 3 times this year in terms of snap share. Either they're trying to save Henry or he really is just falling off the map, which, if so, phenomenal career. We love you, King, but it's coming to an end. Jay, I also really like Pitts, but he needs a good QB to throw him the ball. Also, could Gibbs, RB in Detroit, be used more in the pass game if Laporta is out? For sure, but Gibbs hasn't practiced in 2 days either. I don't think he plays.
Yeah.
So it's going to be tough. Apologies if you're screaming in the background. That's my kids. It's all time to leave.
Pitts, it's a product of the system. Atlanta doesn't throw. They have a horrible quarterback. So Pitts, you put Pitts on Kansas City, Buffalo. I mean, he's a Travis Kelce probably.
Good way to end this one out, Matt, because London is such a shoot. Now we got another one.
Boy, I hope so. I hope so because he's in my flex spot right now.
London can definitely do it. He's got the same problem as Pitts. It's back and forth. It's either he's going to have a great game or he's going to have a dud game. He is the most boomer bust wide receiver this year, in my opinion. Last one. Penguin 02, I think it is. Start 2 wide receivers, 2 running backs, 1 flex. Jacobs, JT, White, Hall, Ford. Wide receivers are Olave, JSN, T. Higgins, Garrett Wilson, Godwin, and Chase. And then Logan Thomas or Evan Ingram. Tight end, I got Ingram higher, but I do love Thomas this week.
Yeah, I'll take Ingram. 2 running backs. Let's go with JT. Man, I want
Jacobs easy. And then I would play Hall.
I don't know. Not against Philly's defense.
Over JT? 50% JT?
No, I like Jacobs, and I'll take the JT chance that he does something.
Okay.
And then for receivers, Jamar Chase. Not even close.
That's the easy one. To me, it's down to, are you playing Olave or are you playing T. Higgins? Because we already kind of talked about the other guys like Jason not happening this week. Garrett Wilson, tough against Philly. I mean, I know that Philly's given up a lot of wide receiver points, but
I would play Godwin with potentially no Mike Evans. I would give me Godwin. I don't want to play T and Chase.
Well,
we got to have a flex, Brian. We need a flex. Let me flex.
Perfect. Then mine would be Godwin with T. If I'm choosing T and Olave, mine would be or T and Chase would be Godwin.
I'll flex T. I'll flex him.
There you go. Growth, Matt. It's growth.
But Breece Hall was almost a flex, but I don't know. Philly's defense is just.
Last one, Chris. Would you trade Ridley and Garrett Wilson for Diggs? Woo! That's the best question to end on. I love it. Guys, we got to get out of here. My kids are screaming their heads off, so I don't want to make that on the podcast. Thank you for joining us today, guys. I really appreciate all the questions and comments. Please subscribe to both Let's Talk Sports and Fantasy Football for the People's YouTube channels. Helps us out a ton. Matt, you got your bets show next week again on Wednesday
at 5:30 Eastern time.
Join Matt for those. You can see the last one that he just did from yesterday up on Fantasy Football for the People and Let's Talk Sports' channel as well. And that's going to do it for us, guys. Keep Dan in your thoughts and prayers. Rest in peace, brother. And we will see you next time. Take care.